So again, from the last discussion we already tackled, first is the Revit 2022 user interface. The next, we explored the basic tools for creating and modifying walls. And we also did place some doors and windows on Revit, and we already created a floor on our exercise. But we haven't yet created a ceiling for our exercise, so maybe we can do that later. And we have this, that's our output from the last discussion. So again, this is some basic components that we did on Revit. So on today's discussion, we'll continue on creating Revit families, creating stairs, roof, and we will understand some basic parameters and also massing. I haven't included, but we will also run through work sharing in Revit. So for the Revit family creation, we have two main extensions. First is the .rft, which is the template. If you wanted to create a family, there are a bunch of templates that you can download and existing on the Revit file folder. So this is an example um, of a template for a family, a metric furniture.rft. And once you're done creating a family, the extension will be the .rfa. So if you see a .rfa extension, then you will know that the file is a family. Then we have several types of families here in Revit. We have system families, which are built in Revit, such as walls, ceiling, floors, and stairs. Some of them we already encountered on the part one. Then we also have the loadable families, which is built outside the Revit project, or those are 3D objects that can be created by users or downloaded from external sources and then loaded into a Revit project. We also have InPlace families, which are unique into a particular project. And we are creating the InPlace families inside the Revit project. So now let's try to create a family here on Revit. I'll just go to File, then click New, then select Family. Then we have here several templates that we can use according to the type of component that we are going to create. Since we are just going to create a simple table, then we are just going to select metric furniture. So you see this is the .rft that I am talking about. And I'll click Open. And you can also observe the user interface now was different compared to the Revit project. So we do not have the architecture tab, the structure tab, the system tab, or whatever tabs that are available on the Revit project. You can also observe that the properties palette and the project browser and views were different compared to the project. You can also see these two reference planes here that were pre-existing from the Revit family template that we choose. So we can imagine those reference planes as papers inside the Revit family interface. We have the reference level here, which is by default is the activated work plane. Then we also have two other reference planes standing perpendicularly on the reference level. So you can host your model or your sketches here on the reference plane. Let's say, for example, you're going to sketch a box, then you might be able to host that box into your reference plane that you selected. And by default, again, the work plane that is activated is the reference level because created the when we open the family template, we are looking at the top view, or we are looking on the face of the reference level. Then before we create a sketch or an element, let us first make several reference planes. One here. Then what we will do is we will host several dimensions on the reference plane. Then we will toggle dimension equality. So these two dimensions will be equal. Then another one. Then also on this side. Okay. And equal. Next, we are going to add a label on the dimension by selecting this icon. So what will happen if we add a label is that it will make the dimensions parametric. So here we have the parameter properties. Let's say this one will be the length of my table. Then we have here type or instance parameter. So for the type parameter, it will enable you to modify the value of a parameter according or by the types of the family. The next is by instance. So it will enable you to modify the value of a parameter per instance. Then we'll just retain this type of parameter to length and group under dimensions. And I'll click OK. So this one will be the length. And on this part, let's just add another label. Will be the width. And I'll click OK. Then next, let us go to the elevations front. And let us add another reference plane right here. Any height will do for now. Press escape. Then add another dimension. Escape. Press again the dimension and add label. So in this case, this will be the height of your table. Click OK. And if you wanted to change the value of the parameter, you can just click the dimension again, the dimension value, and input the height. Let's say I just wanted this to be 950. Let's go back again to the reference level. And now, let's go to create tab and create an extrusion, a solid extrusion. Then let us set the work plane to the reference level. Okay. So again, by default, the reference level is the active work plane. I'll just click OK. Then let us just create a rectangle. Any size will do. And I'll click escape. So now what will I do to these lines is that I will align this to the reference planes. I'll just click align or AL. Then I'll click the reference plane and the sketch. And I will lock it to the reference planes. Also this one. Okay. We'll just change the visual style so you can see it more clearly. The next, what will happen here is that when I click the family types and try to change, let's say the length to be just 2000 and the width to be just 1200, then the extrusion we made will also adjust according to the value that we placed for these two parameters. That is the basic way of how we can create a parametric family here in Revit. Now, how about the height of the table? And also, how about the legs? Let us go to the elevation front again. Then, let us create another reference plane. Let's say I wanted to be the top of the table to be just 50 or 75, whatever. Skip. And I'll place the I'll place another dimension here and I'll click lock. So the dimension or the thickness of the table will not change or will be locked to 75 only. Then again, I'll select align. I'll click the top of the top reference plane, and this one, click lock. This one, click lock. Okay. Let us try to change the height. And if you can observe, the tabletop also follows. And I'll click OK. Let's go back to the reference level. I'll change again the visual style to wireframe. Then for the thickness of the leg, let us just create several reference planes again to consider its thickness. Let's say the thickness is around 75 also. And you can just use a space bar to flip. Okay. Then BI, create a dimension, lock, and let us create extrusion again, select rectangle. So what we can do is we can already align the sketch to the reference planes. Then several lock icons will appear and we will just lock it in place. Okay. But the problem here is that some of the lock icons are overlapping with each other. Okay. Then click Finish Edit Mode. Go back to the front elevation and try to align again the top of the leg to the bottom of the tabletop. Click and lock. And let us try if the table leg will also adjust along with the tabletop. So it works. Let us go to 3D view. Now, an issue here is that we have some lines here that I don't want to see. This is because we created separate extrusion for tabletop and the leg. But what we can do is that we can join these two geometries. Join, then we select the tabletop and select the leg. Okay. Then press escape. I'll just go to find, then shaded. Now for the material, in order for this to be parametric, we can just select tabletop and the leg. I'll just select this one by clicking it, then I'll hold control and select the leg. Then I have here the material and finishes. Then I will associate this material to a parameter. Type table material. Again, I'll just retain the parameter to be a type parameter. And I'll click OK. All right, okay. And let's go to family types. So here you can edit again the parameter and you can create several types of your family. Let's say, for example, I wanted to create a coffee table. I'll just write coffee table. I'll also indicate the dimensions. Let's say this is 400 height by 1200 length by 600 width. And I'll click OK. Then I am going to change the height to 400, the length to be 1200, and the width to be 600. And the units is in millimeter, okay? Then I'll try to change the material to, let's say, wood. Again, let us just duplicate the default, then duplicate, and let's type in wood appearance, duplicate, don't forget this, then replace. The asset browser, let's type wood. Since I cannot find a beech wood here, let's just use this one or whatever you see on the image file. But again, that issue is on me. That is because I have a installation problem with my Revit. But it wouldn't affect your exercise. I'll just click apply and I'll select OK. Apply. Sorry, I forgot to change the appearance. Oh, sorry, the graphics. I'll use the render appearance. Then we can also change the surface pattern. Let's try to select. I think this will do. I do not have any available pattern for wood right now. So I'll just leave it here and I'll click OK. Then apply. And okay. So as you can see, we have one type of the table according to the size or the parameters that we indicated. Let us try to add another type just to see if it will be loaded into our project. Let's say this is a dining table. So change the height to 750 by 2000. Okay. And then okay. So now I have again two types of this family. I'll just save it. Maximum backup to one only. And if you can see the family, the files of type s.rfa. And I'll just save. And there you go. You have your table created now. So that is how you can create a simple parametric family here in Revit. And now let us load it into our project. And automatically it will be in place mode. So you can just click and place the table wherever you want. And if we go on the type selector, we can see the two types that we created earlier. Okay, so we have the coffee table and the dining table here. Escape. And also, if you wanted to add another type, you can just go to edit type and duplicate. Let's say this is a dining table, type 2. Change the length to, let me just measure this one, 200 by 1200. Yep. So this type would be 1200 by 1200. And I'll click OK. There you go. You have your dining table and you can place it right here. I'm just using align, but you can also use rotate or whatever commands you wanted to use. Let's go to 3D view. Okay. So notes. So if you are going to create a parametric family, my advice is to use reference planes to host your sketch, your model, or your dimensions into it. Okay. So what we did earlier is a loadable family. So now let us try to create an in-place family. Let's say I wanted to create this type of partition. These are wooden studs, and I wanted it to be placed from the floor up to the slabs of it. So to create an in-place family, you can just go to Architecture tab, sorry, and Component, then select Model in Place. You can also select the family category, and let us use casework, and click OK. Let us just leave this to casework 1, but you can just place your name if you want. Then I'll select extrusion again. Again, there are several um, types or modes of creation here. Also on the Revit family interface, you can just explore it if you want. But in this case, we are only using solid extrusion. Then rectangle. Let us set the work plane to the floor first. Set, then select the plane, click OK, and click the floor. Then the extrusion start will be at 0, and the extrusion end, let's say, I want this to be only 2,600. I do not have a slab yet at the second floor, so I do not have a reference. So I'll not make this a parametric object, so I do not have to lock edge in place. You can also use array if you want. Let's say there are a bunch of sketches that you will do, similar sketches. So you can just use array. You can just highlight this and check first, finish edit mode, and then you can click AR or you can use this one, this icon. Then I'll move to last. There are six copy of this element, so I just have to change the number here to six. And from the start point, going to the end point. Okay. Oops, sorry. I have to move it here. Sorry. This is set. This should be 7. All right. So if you use array, we'll have subsequent copy of the element with equal distances. And try to edit the material of this. So what will happen if we use arrays that the element would be grouped? So to edit the group, we can just select and then double click and select again the model, and you can change the material. Say I want this to be wood again, click OK, and I'll click finish and click finish model. And let's go to 3D. There you go. So again, that is an in-place family. Okay. So now let us try to place these different furnitures here. So to load the family here on Revit, you can just go to the Insert tab, then Load Family. Or you can just go to Architecture Component, place a component, and if you cannot see those furnitures that you want, you can just also click Load Family. So this is a two-seater sofa, an armchair, a coffee table, a TV, and a TV stand. So let me just first look for a sofa. This one and this one. I'll click open. Again, I loaded two items. First is this chair, and the second one is this two-seater sofa. And I will just place it here. Then let me measure this table. It do not have precise dimension. So what I'm going to do is that I will just use the coffee table that I created earlier. Just place it here. And just do not mind this coffee table from the AutoCAD file. Just use a line. Ensure that the table is at the center. Okay. Then I'll load a TV and a TV stand. Oops. TV and another one for the TV stand. I'll click open. All right. Let me just place TV stand first. And I will change the parameter value for the width to 1500. Okay. And I will place a TV. And if we go to 3D view, we can see here that the TV and the TV stand were clashing into each other. I wanted to get a view of this more properly. So what I am going to do to this 3D view is that I will activate the section box. And I'll click apply. Then I can modify this section box by dragging the shape handles. So that is one way of isolating or cropping your 3D view. Okay. So another way is just by selecting the elements that you wanted to isolate to the 3D view and clicking selection box. Shortcut for it is BX selection box. Okay. So it will be automatically isolated. So you can just move this TV right on top of this table. So you now have it placed properly. Okay. Then let us just save this project. Then let's add this table, this chair and this kitchen system. So for the range, sink, and refrigerator, we do not have to place it one by one. I think we have a family here in Revit which have all of these components. We just look. tables. So this one, the kitchenette medium, I'll click open. Then for this for this bar table, we have to a model in place. So let's create a reference plane first by using RP. Then we can just align it here. And let us rename this to be a bar table. Then model in place. Casework, okay. Extrusion set. Then let's select the bar table. Oh, sorry. Okay. 3D view open. Hmm. Okay. So what happened here is I do not have any view that I can create the sketch properly. So what I will do is that I will cancel first the creation and I will create a section first. Then I'll look into the name of this section and right now I know that this is section 2. Then again, model in place, bar table, hit OK, extrusion, set. I'll select section 2. So in order to edit the sketch, we must open the following views where the sketch will be parallel to the screen. So the section 2 is parallel to the screen or to the work plane that I selected. Okay. So now let's say I have this kind of bar table extending from floor up to 1150 height. And I just adjust the size by dragging the shape handles. It should be something. Let's revise this. Sorry, it should be 1500. Remove this by 110. Finish edit mode. Just measure it again. Then finish model. We have our bar table right now. Let us place high chair, including the family again. I don't know if there is a high chair here or a bar chair. So let me just look into my files and find a bar chair or a stool. Let's use this one. So another way of loading a family into your project is by just dragging the family into your Revit project. Click and drag. So you can observe there that the family version is 2009. If you load it into a higher version of project, then it will adopt the current version or the higher version. Okay, let's go to the page view. All right, so I think this seems nice, but I think it's a little bit too high. Let's add another 50 mm and finish. So now we have the components placed, but you can observe here that we haven't had the floor for the toilet and bath. So we are going to add the floor here. And I will adjust the height of the floor to be -25 because this is a wet area and I do not want the water to be splashing to this floor. Okay. So again, I'll set the height offset to -25 and I'll click finish. I'll just set it back to 0. And let us find if there is a water closet here. If none, again, just load the family. So water closet is classified as a plumbing fixture. Oops, sorry. Should be water closet. This one. And we'll set the elevation to -25 for it to host to the floor. Then I will add a shower stall, which is only a 2D. There's a warning here that I cannot see the created elements which I placed. So this might be resolved by editing the view range. Let's say the floor is at negative 25. So let's change the bottom range to be 100 as well as the view depth. Apply and click OK. Let me just measure this 0.6 by 1.6 by 1200 also. Alright. Let's repeat. Shortcut for rotate is RO. Let's go to 3D view again. Okay, so now we have this nice layout of furnitures. So now before we create the stairs, let us make a floor first at the level 2. Let me just first check the height of the level. It should be at 3000. The level 3 should be also at 6000. Then enter. Then I'll jump to level 2 floor plan. Then I'll click insert. I'll just insert the CAD so it is much easier. Then level 2, I'll just make sure that this is origin to origin and this is set to current view only. I'll click open. All right. Yes. I just do not want to see any underlay of the level 1 here at my level 2. So what I'm going to do is that I will change the underlay. None. Right. Then I will create the layout. So at the previous discussion already tackled about how to create walls, windows, and doors. So I will not just repeat it to you. The doors anymore. Just have to place another fixed window here. So let's say I wanted to create a fixed window protruding from the level 1 up to level 2. Say I want the height to be 8,500, then the width to be only 1,200. 5 height, then width be 1,200. I'll click OK, and I'll place it right here. I think the width is large, so I have to set this only to 900, I think. Yeah, 900 will do. Then I'll create another section here and right click, go to view. So I want this to be cutting from level 1 up to level 2. Let's go to 3D view and let us check. And if it didn't cut from level 1 to level 2, let us fix this by, let's say, joining the walls or by cutting the walls. Just join first. Yeah, I think that worked. What I did is that I just joined this wall from level 2 to the wall from level 1. All right. Let's go back again to the level 2 and create this floor. Offset B0. Finish edit mode. So what I am doing is that I am creating the entire floor by just one creation of floor tool, but this is not advisable. Okay, do not try to practice this kind of creation of floor. So the better practice is to create the floor one by one to each room. Okay, and I will create another floor outside. Let's say this one. Hmm, just generic 300. Let me try this. Then height offset to be negative 25. Okay. So this is for the balcony. And I'll click finish. And I'll just try to place a nice sliding door here. I do not have a sliding door, so I will have to load the family again. Okay. So preview and let us check. Okay. So let us just set this floor to 0. And let's try to attach this wall, this balcony floor. Okay. I think that didn't do the trick, so I'll just use undo or Control Z. And then I'll just try to edit the profile of this wall right here. So I wouldn't see the top of it clashing with the balcony floor. So edit profile. Just have to select pick lines. Then this one. Then trim PR. So this part. Finish edit mode. So that is one way to edit the profile of your wall. So if you have issues like those, you can just edit the profile or you can use this attach top base icon. So I wouldn't resolve all of those issues. At least you have the idea on how to resolve those. Okay. Then put this line, those bottom walls, CL. So I'm selecting the soffit first, then the bottom of the wall. And then let me just drag the top offset from level 3 Have a 1,500 value. I think this will do. Okay. Let's go back again to level 1 and let us create a stair here. So let us go to the architecture tab, then stair. So you have several types of stairs here in Revit. The existing are the assembled, the cast in place, and the precast. This exercise, we are going to use the cast in place. Then we already have the base level at level 1, then the top level at level 2. Then let us try to measure first the thread depth. So this is 275. So what I'm going to do is that I will change the depth to 275 and apply. Okay, the next, I'll click run again. Then I'll select exterior support left for the location line. So I have this reference here for the location line. Okay. Then I'll click from the first point of the flight up to the second point. What you can notice here is that when I zoom out, I can see the number of risers created and the number of the risers that are remaining here. So automatically, Revit already computed the actual number of risers to be created. So you have here the desired number of risers already. And also the actual riser height. So by default, it should the maximum actual riser height, the maximum riser height should be 180 here on Revit. So for the first flight, I just click here. I'll just ignore this warning. And for the second flight, I'll just click here. Okay, click. And automatically, there will be a landing created for the two separate flights. And I'll click Finish Edit Mode. Okay. Then I'll just check level 2. Hmm. I think I just have to edit again by just double clicking the stair. I'll select the run and I'll just drag it here. Okay. And finish. Also this one. So what I did is I adjusted the actual run width. I just wanted it to be aligned with this one. So I'll just click Finish Edit Mode again. And I'll go to 3D View. And I'll use this section box. Okay. So now I wanted to modify the railing. So I can choose a different type of railing by just selecting this tubular railing first, then selecting the properties palette and changing it to a glass railing. Okay. And I can also modify these railings by just going to the plan and selecting the rail and select Edit Rail. Oops, sorry. Edit Path. Sorry, that's not Edit Rail. It should be Edit Path. So I just wanted to move it right here. I'll activate the preview. Okay. It's using arrow keys. Then next, I will try to extend the rail to level 2. Going right here. And I'll click Finish Edit Mode. Just check it on 3D view. And I think that will do. One of the problem or one of the issue here on creating railing in Revit is that there are sometimes an issue like this when the railing um, will be having a separate segment. Okay? The railing here was not smooth, but you can just explore and modify those rails. Okay, let's go back again to 3D view and let us just edit the profile of this wall because it is protruding or extending above the stairs. So I will just go to a section view. Let me just reuse this one. I'll just rotate. Place it right here and go to view. Select this wall and I will just trace this there. And I'll click finish. I'm sorry. It should just be right here. So I think that will do. So what you can do is that you can add another wall at the bottom of the stair here, and you can add a door and you can make it a storage. Okay, then we can also add a railing here. So to add a railing, again you can just go to architecture, then railing, then let us use the glass panel. Then the base offset, sorry, should be 0. And finish edit mode. Now you have your railing at the balcony. Let me just save the project. Next, let us create roof. So what we are going to do is let us go to level 3, and in order to see the walls at level 1 or level 2, you must set the underlay range base level to level 2, looking down. Apply. So now we can see this walls from level 2. And we can have the reference for the overhang of the roof. So for the roof, we can just select the roof by footprint. Then let us create another type of roof. I just want a generic 200 mm, and I'll click OK. I'll edit the structure to be 200. You can also edit the material or add another layer if you want. It's just similar to floor. Right now, just click OK and OK. Make sure your base level is at level 3, and you can create a sketch by just picking the walls. Let's say I'll just use this one, pick walls, and I'll set the overhang to 1000. Click. Click. Then trim. Then I'll just create a line to close the loop. And you can see here some right triangle, and this is an indication of slope. So if we see this triangle, it means it has this footprint have slope, and that is defined by taking this one, the define slope. Okay, let us just try to click finish edit mode for now, and let's go to 3D view. And that is how it will look like when we have four slopes for the if we have all of this footprint defined by an slope. Okay, so what we can do is we can modify this. We just first removing the slope here. Okay? And we can just drag the shape handle down. Next, let's go back to level 3. Then edit footprint again. And let's try to remove the slope here. And let's now provide a slope arrow. Add a slope arrow to the sketch. So just like the ramp that we created on the previous discussion, we can set the height at the tail and at the head if we create a slope arrow. Let me just first cut this entire footprint by clicking SL split. I think this will do. Okay. Then I will add the slope arrow now. Click, slope arrow, click. Then I will select the two slope arrow and I will change the height offset at head to be, let's say, 1000. And I'll click finish edit mode. Oops, there is an error. Try to split this. It is common to have an error when you are creating a roof and you are defining different slopes by having the define slope check and this sketch or this slope arrow. Just try to trim this out if it will work. Okay, then I'll edit footprint again. SL. I will have this slope and I will add another slope arrow. I will not modify the height of the slope arrow first. Just try to make sure that it will work. Okay, so now let us try to set the height. Okay, I think that will do. I have to make it lower, say 1000 or whatever value you wanted. Right. So you have the roof for your project. Okay, then let us just attach this wall, the roof. Let's click the roof, then I'll use attach top base and I will click the roof. Touch top base. You can just select the entire facade. Level 2, select attach top base. Okay. Then let's try to add a gutter here. You know, I this doesn't seem so nice, but you can just play with the dimensions in order to create symmetry to this. Okay. Then I will add a gutter. So on the roof drop down, there is an option to create a gutter here. Click, click. All right. So if we have this type of slope on the roof, we cannot provide or we cannot host a gutter here. So what we can do to resolve that issue is to create a roof fascia. And a roof fascia is based on a profile. And let us try to duplicate this one. And let's edit the profile. Let us edit the profile, but it doesn't seem to have any profile which is the same to this gutter. So what I will do is that I will create a profile first. I'll just go to File, New, Family. Then I'll select Profile. I'll click Open. Then I'll click I'll create a line and I will make the profile of the gutter. Let's say, let's say just a simple one. Just like this. Oops. Should be around 1 to 5. We have a drain. Then I'll save this as a gutter profile. Then I'll load it into my project. Then I will delete the entire gutter first, and instead I will be using the roof fascia. I'll select gutter, edit type, change the profile to gutter. Oops, gutter profile. All right. So we can now click the edges. You can now have your nice gutter here. Sometimes there are problems with this, and again, that is because the connection of the fascia or the gutter, and that is because of the way we created our roof. We just created this quickly, and we did not consider the dimension, so that's why we have a connection like this. Or we can just delete the other segment of the fascia and let us try to add more segments, and let's look if that will resolve the issue. I think that don't resolve the issue, so let's just retain that for now. And you can just use model in place and use sweep to connect this two gutters. Try. Yeah, doesn't work. I think just resolve it by just creating the fascia again. Okay, so we just have to explore for some solutions. Okay, so now we already created the stairs as well as the roof and the roof gutter. Okay. You can also add the roof soffit by selecting the roof soffit icon. Then let us host this to level 3 and click yes. And what I will do is I will pick all of the roof edges, and next is that I will pick the walls. Select this wall, this one, and this one. Okay. Then I will trim this line connecting here. and this line. So here. Then I'll click finish, edit mode, tick, let's edit and duplicate. Let's say I just want this to be 50 mm. 50 mm. Right, okay. Then you can just move it by using the move tool. I'll press MV and click, and I'll just drag it down. So there are several ways that you can fix this termination right here, either by doing a model in place, and you can just create a nice roof like this one that I created earlier. Again, we only um, have several times, and we are not going to discuss the in-depth of how to create this stuff, but at least you have the idea of how to create the roof, the gutter, and the roof soffit. Okay, I'll just save this project. Okay, then let us add some rooms here at level 1. So to add a room, you can just go to Architecture tab, then click Room, then you can just click and place it to put a room in here. But the problem is I want this area to be divided into living, dining area, and kitchen. But a room is defined by boundaries, and I do not have boundaries between living, dining, and kitchen. So what I'm going to do is that I will add a room separator right here, going right here. So we have a separation between the dining area, living room, and kitchen. So by default, the walls have its own room boundary. You can observe, if you click a wall, there is an option here to check if it is room bounding or not. By default, it is checked and it is considered by the room tool. Now we can just add the room, and we can also add a room tag with area. Just hide the CAD so it doesn't confuse us by using the visibility graphics or VG command. Then I'll go to imported categories, and I'll hide the floor plan level 1, and I'll click OK. Mhm. So we have this room tag with area. So what I wanted to do is to just provide a small text for the room, and I wanted to remove this number. So what I can do is that I can click the room tag and go to edit family. Okay. So I can just delete this and change the tag label by editing its type, then selecting duplicate. Let's just make this 1.5 and this one to be 1.5 also. And I'll click OK, and I'll just move this entire label to be 1.52, and I'll save this family as a custom room tag options. I'll change the maximum backup to 1, and I'll click save. Now I can just load it into project and close. Escape and press the room tag and change the room tag to custom room tag with area. Okay, and I'll change this to living room. I do not also want to say this box, so I have to remove that. Where's that box? I think that this is the lines that I'm seeing. I have to remove those and place it at the center of the reference planes. Load, yes, yes, again. And overwrite the existing version. Alright. Then another room, the shortcut for room is RM. We have to name it as the dining area. So this is interesting because I already placed a room separator, and right now I can see that this living room is extending up to this part. Let me just try to fix and move it a little bit downward. Or I think I do not have a wall here yet, so I'm just going to extend this room separator going here. And let us check that resolve the issue. And that's it. I resolved the issue, and let's provide another room here, which is, or I just double click it. That's why it go to a Revit family editor. So just avoid double clicking, spamming double click. I mean, okay. So what is interesting here is that I can provide. Oh, sorry, another. I can provide a color scheme for different rooms or areas. And that is by going to the Annotate tab and selecting the color fill legend. So let us try to use this one, color fill legend. Then I can just place the color scheme and select the space type to be by room and by the name of the room. And I'll just click OK. Then you can have your rooms color coded according to the room names. And you can just edit the scheme, and you can also change the color if you want, and click OK. So that is how you place rooms on Revit, and we already tackled how to customize your room tag and how to place a color fill legend. And let's save the project again. And I think that's it for the modeling. So enough of modeling right now. Let us jump to the different parameters in Revit. So here in Revit, we have family parameters, shared parameters, project parameters, global parameters, and built-in parameters. So I can just give you this description. So I do not have to discuss each one by one because we do not have enough time. We can just simply differentiate the different parameters by just looking at this table. Let's say for the system families were used in the families or project, and it can be tagged or it can be scheduled. So the system parameters are built in on Revit. Then we have the shared parameters and the project parameters, which are commonly used inside your Revit project. So let us try to create a parameter by going to manage tab, then project parameters. So the difference between these two, this project parameter and this shared parameter, is that this one is specific only to a project and it cannot be tagged. While this one, the shared parameter can be used into different projects and it can be saved as a text and be used again to different project. And it can also be tagged and it can also be scheduled. So I will create a parameter that will affect my project browser. So let us try to create a sort one name. Then let us place it on text. Then the type of parameter to be text also. I want this parameter to affect the views, the sheets, and the schedules. And I'll click OK. I will also add another one, sort two, views, schedules, and sheets. And I will click OK. I'll click OK again. And I will go to the views and discipline. So this is how the project browser is arranged. Browser organization. And we can see here that the project browser is arranged by discipline. You can go to edit and look at the properties, and from here we can know that it is arranged by the discipline and then by the family and type. So for the discipline, we have architectural or coordination or structural. Then by the family and type, we have floor plans, ceiling plans, or elevations. Let's click OK. So you can change depending on your preference. But on this case, we are going to create a new custom project browser organization and click OK. And we'll group this by the sort 1 and the sort 2 that we created earlier. And I think that's it. And I'll click OK. And I'll use this custom project browser organization. I will click OK. And you can observe that all of the views will now go to a group of question mark. So let us try to duplicate this level one. Duplicate with detailing. Let's say I will be having 3 copy. Let's say this is the level one or general arrangement plan. Say this one is the level one HS plan. And this one to be level one, say furniture plan. Enter. Now we can just select this this view and change its properties. Let's say for the short one, I want this to be a documentation view. And I want this to be on 001 series, general arrangement. Okay? And you can see now that the level 1 GA was grouped now under the documentation and the general arrangement plan. So what I will do here for the finishes is that I will also place this under documentation and we'll change the series to 002 furniture plan. furniture plans. Enter, apply. Oh, sorry. This should be finishes. Should be finishes. Okay. And this one to be under documentation and 003 furniture plan. Okay. Okay. So now I wanted to separate the views by documentation and by the work in progress views. So for this, for the level one, I can just say this is 00 work in progress views, or WIP, apply, then general arrangement. So now this level one will be grouped under, or will be placed under the group of WIP, then 001 general arrangement plan. So the good thing here is that when I separated the WIP and the documentation, I can do the modeling here at the WIP view. I can um, generate a nice sheet or a nice view for the annotations here at the documentation group. So this is a good way of how we can separate the views properly on the project browser by creating a creating project parameters. So you can just change the value of the text for the different views. At first, it will be time consuming, but if you created a template for it, then on the other projects, it will be much easier. Okay, so that is how a parameter affect your project browser, and you can also do it to affect other elements on your Revit project. Now, let us jump to massing. So I'll just create another project for our massing exercise. So I'll just click new project. I'll click browse and I'll select again the default metric template. I'll click open and okay. So first, I'll go to elevation view and I will create 10 levels. So by default, we already have two, and I'll just change the height of the level 2 to 3000 only, just for the purpose of this exercise. And again, to create a level, just go to Architecture tab, then select level. You can just use pick lines, and let's have levels of 3000. And just pick the level below, up to, from level 1 up to level 10. Just make sure that you do not have any overlapping levels. You can know it by just looking at the level name. Should be from level 1 to 10 with no skipping the numbers. Okay. Then I'll go back to level 1. And to create a mass, you should first go to the massing and site. Then select InPlace mass. By default, the massing the show mask is disabled. So if you click in place mask, it will automatically enable the show mask. I'll just close, and click OK. Then I'll just draw a rectangle, and I'll make sure that I'll select the draw on work plane. And the placement plane should be at level 1. Let's create a rectangle with random size. And select lines, and I will click create form from the selected lines. So this is basically like extrusion. And I'll press escape, and let us jump to the elevation. So on the elevation view, you can just first finish mass and drag the mass by selecting the shape handles and dragging it up to level 10. Okay, then I'll press escape. Now I will go to 3D view. And then I'll select the mass again and click edit in place. What I wanted to do is I wanted this mass to be twisted. Let's say I wanted to have a concept of a building that is twisted. So what I will do is I will select the top part of the mass and edit its profile. And then I'll select the top view and select the lines or the sketch. Click RO to rotate, and I'll just rotate it by several degrees. And I'll click finish edit mode. As you can observe, it follows the shape of the bottom profile up to the top profile. You can now see an effect of a twisted building. And again, now what I wanted to do is I wanted to create mass floors based on the entire levels. So to do that, just have to select the mass again and click mass floors. And select level 1 up to the level 10 and click OK. So you can see we now have our mass floors here. Again, these are just mass floors. These are not the actual floors. But if you wanted to create actual floors based on the mass, you can just go to sorry, the collaborate tab again, sorry, the massing and site, and selecting the floor by face. Then you can just select create floor. But before that, you should first select the type of floor that you wanted to create. Let's say I wanted a standard timber wood finish. Then I just highlight the entire mass floors and create the floor. Okay. So that is how you can easily create actual floors based on the mass floor that you created earlier. Next, for the facade, I wanted this to be glass. So what I'm going to do is I will provide a curtain system based on the face of this mass. So I'll choose curtain system by phase. Then make sure that the select multiple is activated. Click these phases. And before we create a system, before we click the create system, let us make sure that our preferred curtain system types or dimensions are already in place. So we have to set this first to our desired dimensions. Say I wanted the height to be at 3,000, then the length will be only 1,200. So I'll click OK now. And for the spacing, this is 1,200, and the grid 2 should be 3,000. By default, I won't be placing any mullions right now. I'll just click OK, and I'll select the create system now. So I have these curtain panels now created from the mass, all right? But the problem here is that we cannot see any mullions. We can only see grids or the cut of the glass. So to provide mullions, I'll just press escape and go to the architecture tab again and select the curtain wall mullion icon. So let us use the 50 by 150 mm rectangular mullion, and let us select all grid lines. Click, click. We have the mullions now created based from the curtain system. And lastly, let us just provide the roof. And we'll be using roof by face. Then let's say this should be a generic 125 mm roof. And I'll just select the top face of the building and create roof. Okay. That is the basic of how you can create mass in Revit. Again, this have to go to massing and site and use InPlace mass. We also explore how to create the mass floors and how to modify the facade by creating wall by faces and roof by faces too. Okay, I'll just save this and name it as massing. Then I'll select the options and change it to 1. I'll click OK, then save. I'll click close. And then let us jump to work sharing. So on work sharing, it will enable multiple team members to work on a single project file at the same time. So this is a very powerful feature of Revit. So on work sharing, we have the central model, which is strategically saved on your server. Then we have a local copy of the model placed on the user's machine. Say there are 3 users working on a single project, then they will have their own local copy of the file on their computer. And each element on Revit, when the work sharing is activated, will be having its own work sets in order for the work sharing to be functional. Okay. So work set is a collection of elements in a work shared project. You can create work sets on functional areas such as the following: for architecture, structural engineering, interior, or for the system. So you can just also simplify the work set as layer. So you can create a work set for window, for doors, for walls, or for ducting, piping, for the diffusers, for the lights, etc. So in order to activate the work sharing, you have to enable first the collaboration. So there are two types of collaboration here in Revit. First is within your network, and the second one is in the cloud. So on the previous version of Revit, you can see this as in BIM 360 document management. But on the higher version, like for the 2022, if I'm not mistaken, up to 2023, it would be in the cloud because they have, I think, separate platform, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and the previous one, which is the BIM 360. But on this exercise, we'll only focus on the collaboration within your network. So again, that is the principle of how the work sharing works. Again, to activate the work sharing, you just have to go to collaborate and select collaborate. Then we must save the model first, select within your network. So before creating or saving your central model, again, I advise to plan ahead of time where you can strategically place your central file because um, you cannot just move your central model into different file location or else you will be having an issue with work sharing. Then I'll just click File, then Save as Project. Then I'll just name this as a work sharing exercise. In Options, one. And then I will make this a central model after it is saved. It is also checked here. And I'll click OK. Once I save this, I cannot just move it into a different location. I'll just click Save. And now you can see here at the bottom part that the work set is now activated. So we are given two work sets by default. We have the shared levels and grids, and we have the work set one. Again, it is up to you to create your own work set according to your preference. Click OK. You can also view the work set here. One way of managing a view by the work set is by going to Visibility Graphics and clicking the Work Sets tab here and hiding this visibility settings. You can just show or hide if you want, and you can know what the work set an element is by just clicking the element and going to the identity data and looking for the work set and the worklet value. Okay, now I will close this file. I'll close the central file. So again, right after you, um, let's say, create the central model, I advise that you always close the central file first before doing anything else. And then another tip is that do not open directly the central file on the project folder. What I mean is, do not just double click this, especially when work sharing is activated. So the proper way of opening a work shared file is by clicking open and then selecting the work sharing exercise and making sure that the create new local is checked. So in this way, you will be creating your own local copy on your own computer. So let us just imagine that the central file is saved on a separate computer or a server. And when we access the central file, we'll be having a new local copy of it. And click open. And now you successfully created a new local copy, and you can verify that by just looking at the top of your interface. Say this is the project name, and you should have your username also indicated after the project. Okay, if it doesn't show, then maybe there is a problem in on how you open the on on how you access the central model. Okay. So again, that's it for the work sharing. Sorry, I forgot that if you are going to, this is an additional tip. If you are going to save, this will only be saved as a local file. But let's say, for example, you created a wall and you want this wall to be saved on the central model and be seen by the other users, you have to click the synchronize and modify settings. I will just add this slide right here. This is also very important. Synchronize is a two-way transfer of information. What I mean by the two-way transfer of information is that you will sending all the informations that you created going to the central model, and you will acquire the informations that are readily available from the central model. So this is to and from. While the other one is reload. So for the reload, this is a one-way transfer of information, meaning you will only acquire what is on the central model. But let's say you created walls, roofs, pipes, or you did not sync and you just reload. What will happen is that those informations that you created wouldn't be available for central model, and that wouldn't be considered or be seen by the other team members. So it is important that you always use the synchronize.